My name is Matthew Loyd. I'm from Queens, New York, and my medium is oil pastels and pencil and paper. I'm mostly an illustrator and a graphic designer. With design stuff, I do a lot of the work on the computer digitally, and I do layout design, editorial design, and like logo design, things like that. Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, the Adobe tools are like my weapons of choice for that. My artist background kind of goes back pretty deep. I've been an artist for as long as I can remember. I always go back to this story of I was probably like 3 or 4 years old, drawing a Pokemon comic, like a made-up Pokemon comic, on the kitchen floor of my house. And like my dad took it. He's like, "Wow, like this is really good." And he like held on to it. He says he still has it. I'd have yet to see it again. But yeah, I've been like an artist for as long as I can remember, and I feel like I've been blessed to have parents that kind of like fed into that like desire for the arts, right? And as well as like just art teachers I've had in school that have been like, "Hey, like we're gonna like push you and do this." One very pivotal one was my art teacher in elementary and middle school, Miss Gallo. She was like huge for like getting work of mine and like my classmates in exhibitions as like a kid, you know, like whether it was just for like public school or things like that. So like that was amazing, and she really helped to feed my love for art. As far as inspirations go, I'm really inspired by like American comics, Japanese manga, anime, cartoons are like my big ones for illustration. A lot of my favorite artists, Nicholas Draper Ive, Katsuhiro Otomo, Masashi Kishimoto, like are like comic book artists. Alex Ross is another big one. You know, so like all these different kind of illustrative mediums really inspired me. And then I got into design in high school, and then that blew up in college. My best friend actually was my mentor for graphic design. He helped me out a lot to learn a lot of things. And then I went into magazine design, and I started my own magazine. And like since then, you know, and like really being able to like dig into my artistic craft in the last few years, I've just been like consuming so much inspiration, and it's really been like the ball has just been rolling and rolling and rolling. And now we're here. So even more rolling and rolling of the artistic wheel, and I'm loving it. So I'd always wanted to go to Japan. Funny enough, I was actually planning a trip to go later this year in the summertime with some friends. And what made me want to really take on the residency and participate was just the ability to have a space to create art. Back at home, I do all my work at my desk, which is in my house that I live with my entire family, you know, and the desk isn't in my bedroom. It's in kind of like a publicer space of the house. So public as in everybody can move around, not random people's coming to my house. But yeah, I was really drawn to the idea of having a space to work. That's something that I've desired for a while. Back in New York, prices out there pretty high, right, for getting a studio specifically dedicated to art. But I liked that I'd have that ability to do that here. I'd be able to get my trip to Japan. I'd be able to do a residency, which is something that I wanted to do for this year, right, is to like do a residency somehow. And it's crazy, like now I'm even saying that, and I didn't even realize for the time that we've been here so far, like this has been in line with my goals for the year, and I found it. And now we're here. So like everything just seemed to line up, and I almost didn't do it because I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to go to Japan yet. I don't know if like my Japanese is good enough. Like I've been practicing for my summer trip, and I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to go. Like how will it work with work? Like what about my friends? I don't want to ditch them. But I just said, you know, like I'm gonna just go for it. And I think it was a great decision to do so because, you know, now I'm here and I get to do what I love in Japan. And that's like the purpose of my trip. So like another one. My experience so far has been great. I really love the people that I'm here working with. Everybody's like really, really cool. And I think the experiences that I've had with them and like what I can take away from just what everybody says, or like the way folks like act or move through the world. It's like really cool. So I love that part of it, is just like the folks that I'm here with. Kaga is amazing. It's beautiful. I love walking around and just like taking things in, the sights. I'm a big mountain guy. I remember I'd asked the question to you and Star, Brian, earlier on, like, what kind of like natural environment kind of guy are you? Like, do you like forests, like beaches? I'm a mountain guy. Like, I love mountains. I love hikes. And just like, even if I'm not like up in the mountaintop, just like seeing them just like gives this feeling of like calm and like stability. It's just like cool to be like, wow, like what a beautiful scenery to be surrounded by. So I love it out here. Tokyo's awesome. I've had like a great time out there and like seen a lot of sights. The only thing I could wish for was that we had more time. That's it. Like, that's it. But everything other than that, I think has been really great. I don't think it's like, it's not one of like the typical Japan trips where like everybody's like, okay, like we're gonna go to like every different like big city and like see all the different, you know, like kind of like sightseeing things. But I'm really appreciative of what this is and the form factor of this trip, because again, like I get to make art, right? I get to make work and like have the space and encouragement to do that, which is awesome. And I also, like, when I can, get to explore and see new things. And it's also easy. Like, I don't have to plan like a whole itinerary, and you know, like Fusion's got that covered for me, so it's great. I'm loving it. I feel like I'm just here to just enjoy and make art, and that's such an amazing experience to have. I think the change of pace here has been hard to get used to, and I'll mention why. Because I'm from New York, things are like moving pretty fast all the time. And even with like running the magazine and working full time, it's like it's a lot of like on. Like when people ask like, how have you been? I'm always like, I've been busy, you know, like I've been busy. And it's not for nothing. Like I go to work and then I come home, then I'm like working again, you know, and then like, if it's like a busy weekend, like if I have to go out and like go to an event or interview someone, that's like more work to have to do. So out here, it took a little bit of adjusting because I felt like I couldn't get into my grooves at first. But you know, as I kept at it, I was able to kind of get into that. I think I really enjoy like how lax I can be. And like, yeah, like I'm still worrying about deadlines, as like, you know, the designer in me is still worrying about deadlines, but it doesn't like feel so bad because there's not like a whole plate full of different things that I have to do. So I like that. I like that it's like removed from like all the other work and kind of stress of like having multiple things on. And then it's in such a nice chill place. Like if I want to relax, I can go sit in the onsen. Like that's amazing. I can't do that back home. So it's, I think I'm adapting to it and it's benefiting me in the sense that it's kind of easing my stress a little bit. I'm working on 2 pieces. Hopefully I'll get some time and space to help out with some other ones. But they're 2 oil pastel pieces, which is the medium that I'm most comfortable with right now and that I'm loving working with. One of them is a portrait of the Japanese deity of storms, Susanoo, and I actually had gotten inspired to do that here. When we were in Tokyo, we went to the Asakusa temple, and like seeing like the huge like Neo statues, right, with like the guys that are like in the gate, that are built into the gate. Funny enough, I had only seen that like in anime, and like I was familiar with Asakusa through like anime. To like see it in real life was dope. It was really cool, but I was like really like, okay, like I feel like I want to do something relating to like Japanese mythology, right? Like I'm here in Japan, I want to make a piece that I think is relevant to the space. So then I did some research and I came to Susanoo, and I wanted to do something related to storms just because when we did our first fusion talk, there was like a huge storm going on outside. Like we were walking around, there's like lightning in the sky and everything, going to dinner. So I wanted to like pull from that in some way. And it actually ties in perfectly with another piece that I had pre-planned wanting to do, which is of this like serpent on this table with like an apple, and it's supposed to represent like kind of like the place that snakes and serpents have in lots of like religious mythologies as like destroyers or like, you know, bringers of the end kind of thing. In the legend of Susanoo, he actually slays this serpent like very famously, and that's like one very pivotal thing with his story. Like he comes down to earth, slays a serpent, and then like the people kind of like praise him as a hero. So I think the two tie together like really nicely. So I'm happy for that. I feel like it kind of just worked out perfectly in that sense. So those are the two pieces I'm doing. The portrait is similar to the sizes of the oil pastel portraits I usually do, and the one with the snake is like a lot bigger than my usual stuff. So looking forward to that. I think just alone, like me wanting to create something relevant to Kaga and to Japan has been cool. And that's come about through the way I've seen how culture is integrated into interior design, into like layout design and like magazines and like books and pamphlets, into even just like food. And, you know, like when you walk into a space, like you feel like you're in a Japanese space, like very much so. Down to like the littlest, most minute details. We were talking before about just like the music that plays, just like the ambient music that plays here at Hyakumongoku, and like you go to like different train stations, just like different public spaces in Japan. It's like it's very different from the States. So that made me want to make something that also kind of fit into that space, that ethos, that world as well. So that's kind of like where my desire to do the piece of Susanoo comes from. So yes, I have been able to interact with the local community and folks that are artists, both here in Kaga and in Tokyo. And it's been really cool. One goal I had coming out here was definitely like, okay, like I gotta make connections, you know. Having the project Analog Nostalgia, which is like the latest photo book that I did with my magazine in collaboration with a homie who runs Landline Studios. It is a photo book containing photography from Japan and from New York City, right? So one big thing with this trip was, okay, I have to make connections because, you know, brand-wise, I'm already out here in a sense, right? Like 20XX is already here, so now I'm coming here as well. It's funny that like my brand made it out here before me, but like I'm hyped about that, honestly. But yeah, like that was a big goal for me, was to like connect with as many artists. And it's been cool because so many artists and creative people out here, especially like older Japanese folk, from what I've noticed, are very, very, very into their craft and like what it is they do, and it's inspiring. And like I love seeing the way that, again, like culture ties into it as well, right? You know, and like what it is that they hold true like as values, and you know, how they see that as important kind of coming through in their work. So that's been like a really nice thing for me, is like making just connections with those folks, like talking to people. Like I've been doing my best to just like talk to people, you know, like if I see somebody and I'm like, all right, like I could try and get a conversation off with you. My Japanese is not great at all, but you know, I think I do pretty well for what I do know, and I'm able to communicate, and that's been really, really, really fun as well. And I'm very, very appreciative of the Japanese people that want to speak with me, because they're like, oh my gosh, this guy really knows any Japanese. But then there are people that like barely know any English, and then, you know, they want to understand more and learn more. So that's been nice too, like to kind of make cultural exchanges in that sense. I taught a guy how to dap the other day, and like he like gives daps and he says yo now, and you know, that's because of me, right? So it's like that cultural exchange. He was teaching me some Japanese, you know, as well. But it's cool, like just interacting with folks, and you know, even though I'm a foreigner, being able to fit in more gives for like a very welcoming kind of vibe. So I appreciate that, and that again is like why I feel like I want to make a piece that's relevant to the place that I'm in, because you know, this moment is only going to last so long, and I think that's a nice way to remember it, doing that. I think this residency has allowed me to challenge myself greatly. I'm working on a piece right now that I've never done like any artwork of that size, illustrative that is. And I'm like, wow, I'd wanted to do pieces like that for a while, but again, like I don't have space like that at home. So now like having space to do that, it just makes me want to do more like larger scale works. There's an artist I follow on Instagram, and he was like, yeah, if you want to like become successful or like get recognition as an artist, you either have to like, in today's day and age, he's like, make something super huge or draw celebrities. Like that's like the quickest ways to like blow up. And I was like, I don't really want to draw celebrities the whole time, and I'm not ready to make like huge pieces, even though like I have ideas for them. But I appreciate that I have the space now to level up my craft. That's definitely something big for me. And I hope that I can bring back just like the ease of like creating and like kind of just like the go for it attitude. I feel like that's something that like I kind of lock into whenever I work, but it's not a conscious thing. But I think out here it has been very conscious for me, where it's like, okay, like deadlines coming up, like don't panic, just do it. Like Nike, just do it. So like I'm really like hopping in and like just going for it. And that's something I've been trying to implement more, just like design work, because, you know, design is another thing where it's like deadlines are like, you know, that's like integral to the market and just like the work of design a lot of the time. So it's been nice to tackle that from like a non, I guess, toxic point of view or feeling. And that's something that I've learned here and been able to like kind of sit into here. So appreciating that for sure. Definitely taking that with me. I can't really say that I've been influenced too much by the others work-wise. And that might just be because I'm focusing like so much on like my pieces. I've been going around checking out like what everyone else has done. But like as far as like what I've been taking away from them and like what they've been making, I can't speak on it just yet. That might be it. Maybe like after I get back home to the States, like something will kind of come out of me where it's like, oh, that aha. But I mean, that's not to say that not with great people. Like I think the experience is awesome, but so far I haven't noticed something that I feel like I've been like, okay, like I'm gonna pull this and this is going to be like part of my life or like artistic process just yet. So I think we'll see. And it also might just be like, I feel like I get inspiration from seeing like a finished work and like looking at like the way it was done, because I don't really have time to like sit and observe a technique for too long, because, you know, I have to go back and work on my own thing. But like when I look at something after it's done, I kind of get like visual inspiration from there and kind of go forward with that. So we'll see how that kind of comes about for the different people, their work, and what it is I take away from them. I mean, I want people to think I'm a dope artist when they look at my work. I want my skill to come through. I want my attention to detail to come through. That's something that's very important to me and something I admire when looking at other artworks. Like I'm the guy at the museum that's like peering in, looking really closely at like each brushstroke to see like how they got like a certain texture or certain you know, shape or something or form. And that is very much like how I approach my artistic discipline as well. So yeah, I'd want them to take that away. I'd want them to, I guess, like get the idea that like I'm kind of versatile in style and like subject with like what it is I do. But yeah, I really want people to see it and be like, wow, this is cool. You know, that's what I get out of art. That's what I love out of art, is like seeing something and like really enjoying it and be like, this is awesome. And then like, hopefully I want other people to be inspired by the work that they see, whether it's the subject, whether it's like the skill that goes into it and like the craft of it, you know, whether it's like just the surrounding and like the way it's curated with the other pieces and the place that we're at. Like I really love being inspired, and I hope that what I make can inspire, you know, maybe like some Japanese kid who like sees the work and is like, wow, you know, like when I was 10 or like 10 or so, like 10 or 9, in 5th grade, I was inspired by Takashi Murakami at the Brooklyn Museum. So he's a Japanese guy. So now I'm going to pass it on to a Japanese kid, right? Japanese, American, Japanese, and then that Japanese kid will grow up and inspire some American kid or some British kid or, you know, a Chinese kid or, you know, someone from somewhere. I love that I've had the ability to gain that from someone, and I would love to be that for someone else. So I really do hope that somebody finds the work inspirational. I love seeing people like sit in front of a piece that I made and then really like look at it. It's like, yes, like I wonder what they're thinking, like what they're pulling from it. So like that's definitely something that I'm looking forward to for the exhibitions.